Jared Goff under Dan Campbell and Matthew Stafford under Sean McVay have faced off against each other 3 times now. The first matchup came in the 2023 wildcard round of the playoffs. It was Detroit's first playoff game in 7 years and the Rams' first playoff game since winning the Super Bowl. The game was extremely close. Puka Nacua had 181 yards and a touchdown. St. Brown had 100 yards of his own. And in the end, Detroit's defense ended up getting the job done, forcing 3 field goals and holding the Rams to 23 points as the Lions won 24-23, giving them their first playoff win in over 3 decades. Then, lo and behold, the very next season, Week 1, Detroit opens it up, hosting the Rams at Ford Field yet again. Sadly, halfway through the second quarter, Puka would leave with an injury. Cooper Kupp would try to fill the role, having over 100 yards and a touchdown, but Detroit's defense would get the job done yet again. Kirby Joseph picking Stafford off in the end zone. The defense making key stops in the fourth quarter to keep the Lions in the game, allowing them to kick a field goal to force overtime. And once it hit OT, it was just David Montgomery running the ball down the field. And the Lions won the second matchup 26-20. Overall, the first 2 wins weren't about Goff beating Stafford. They were about Detroit grinding the game down at their own tempo while the Rams defense failed to close the game late. And you can see over the last 2 years that the Rams defense has finished in the middle of the road of the NFL in points per game allowed. But jumping into 2025, you can see that that is not the case anymore as the Rams defense has taken the next step, allowing only 18.6 points per game to opponents, ranking 3rd in the NFL. And this is just a big pat on the back for Chris Shula. What a job he's done getting the Rams defense to this point in not even 2 full seasons as defensive coordinator. Now, this past Sunday, Goff and Campbell had their third matchup against Stafford and McVay. They came into the game with an 8-5 record, hunting for a playoff spot. Their first loss of the season came Week 1 against the Packers, probably their worst loss of the season. It never felt like they were in that game. Then Week 6, they lost by a few scores to the Chiefs. Week 9, they hosted Minnesota and lost 27-24. This was their worst loss of the season in the sense that I believe they are a better team than the Vikings, and in this game, you need to take care of business, especially with how good the NFC North is. Detroit really wish they had that one back. Then Week 11, they went to Philly on Sunday Night Football and lost 17-9. Then Week 13, they'd host the Packers for Thanksgiving and lose 31-24. 3 of their 5 losses, 1 score. And the Rams came into this game with a 10-3 record, tied with the Seahawks for the NFC West division lead, and by default, tied with the Seahawks for the NFC 1 seed. Only one team in each conference gets a playoff bye, and I'm sure the Rams would love to have it. It's sad thinking about the playoff bye, though, as a Lions fan. It's also interesting that across Detroit's 13 games this season, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't find the end zone in 5 of them, and it so happens to be that those 5 games are Detroit's 5 losses. Now, before I get into the rest of the video, I want to take a quick moment to ask that if you enjoy breakdowns that go deeper than just the box scores, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe, as a lot of time and effort are put into these videos. Of course, please comment what you think down below, and fuck the Packers. And that all brings us to the Week 15 matchup, Detroit heading to LA to take on the Rams. Both teams with a ton to play for. Stafford came in leading the league in touchdown passes and second in passing yards with only 4 interceptions on the season. On their opening possession, Detroit would get right down the field with a few first downs, but then a holding call on Penei Sewell would set the drive back. Campbell would be left with a 4th and 4 and elect to kick a field goal, which is very surprising knowing his aggressive nature, knowing that the Detroit Lions win games by going for it on 4th down, and they went for it on 4th down in the playoffs against the Rams and scored a touchdown on 4th and goal, and it's a big reason why they won by 1 point. Jake Bates would end up missing the field goal, which is just very unlucky. He's been great for the Lions this season, nothing to worry about. But I'm just very surprised Campbell didn't try to go get 7 there, knowing you're going up against the best team in the NFL. And Detroit's defensive struggles this season. They've allowed the most explosive passing plays to offenses this season, and over half of them have come in their past few games. And it doesn't help that on the other side of the ball, MVP candidate Stafford leads the NFL in 20-plus yard passing plays. And that was prevalent on their opening drive until 2nd and 10. Hutchinson intercepts Stafford. He couldn't bring it back for an interception because he kept looking over his shoulder. Nonetheless, incredible play. Hutchinson, 4th interception of his career, goes up and gets the screen. Really just takes away Jake Bates' missed field goal. And the very next play, St. Brown from Goff to the back of the end zone, and the Lions took a 7-0 lead. Stafford would quickly get the offense back across midfield and would keep the offense out there on 4th and 4, and Puka Nacua would convert for the first down. Then a few plays later, after Stafford would miss a wide open Ferguson for a touchdown, they'd keep the offense on the field on 4th and 8, and Nacua would convert again in Robertson's face. And I feel like that play was a statement from McVay. We're going to go for it on 4th and 4 and then 4th and 8 and beat you in your own game. And also a statement that we don't believe your defense can stop us. We're going to go for it on 4th and 8. And I know it's still first quarter, but I feel like that was a defining moment in the game where Detroit, if they get one of those stops, they just stop them on 4th and 4, 4th and 8. It would have been huge. Then a few plays later, Campbell loses a timeout, and Williams scores a touchdown to tie the game at 7. Cousin Jameson Williams would get the Lions right back down the field with a great throw from Goff. David Montgomery would have some really successful rushes getting the Lions 1st and goal from the 9, but they'd go for the end zone on 1st and goal. 2nd and goal would be the run with David Montgomery. And 3rd and goal, they'd go near end zone again, not even trying to get a few yards to maybe set up a 4th and goal, and Jake Bates would give the Lions a 3-point lead, but just not the best start from the Lions offense. Or rather, it was an okay start for the Lions offensively, but you know, if Detroit wants to win this game, the margin for error is extremely slim. But you get into the red zone 3 times, and you only walk away with 10 points. It's just not the best when you're going up against the best team in the NFL. Puka would walk his team back down the field, and on 3rd and goal, Anzalone would break up the pass, but then would be called for holding, giving the Rams new life, and Kyron Williams would score his 2nd touchdown of the day, giving the Rams the lead. Kicking off the Lions' 4th offensive possession, Goff would navigate the pocket and put it into St. Brown's fingertips for a 52-yard game on the first play of the drive. Incredible by St. Brown to bring that one in. Few plays later, 3rd and 5, St. Brown on the screen, and he'd find the end zone for the 2nd time of the game. Jameson Williams, some great blocking on the screen. They loved it on the sideline. We're laughing about it. Goff would then get the ball back with the lead, up 17-14 after the Lions defense actually forced the Rams to punt, one of the 3 times they did in this game. And Campbell would keep the offense out there, deep in their own territory for 4th and 1, and of course, St. Brown would get the job done. Lions offense would keep rolling after that. St. Brown with another first down. Jameson Williams with a huge gain. Goff working over the middle of the field. And on the next play, you'd find Jameson Williams for a 31-yard touchdown. Both of those guys had huge games. JMO, 7 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown. And St. Brown, 13 catches, 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that drive makes you think if the Lions would have went for it on that 4th and 4, they probably would have scored a touchdown with the way their offense was playing in the first half. Sadly for Detroit, the Rams would put together a 30-second, 46-yard drive with a huge play to Puka to set up a field goal right before halftime, and Detroit's lead would be cut to 7. Coming out of the half, the broadcast would show Jared Verse and Byron Young sitting on the sideline, and the report was that they sat there during halftime. Now, I'm not sure if that's fully true, but if it is, that's crazy. I mean, the Rams definitely were not happy about the performance, allowing 24 points on the first half. And in the 3rd quarter, Detroit would have 3 drives. The first one would be killed by Giovanni Hold. They'd be forced to punt. On the 2nd drive, 1st and 10, Goff would come out, take a huge hit while throwing it deep to Jameson Williams, and a small bump by Kobe Durant right before Jameson Williams would get to the ball would force him to have to dive for it, and he couldn't come down with the impossible catch. I mean, that would have been one for the ages. Then after that play, the pressure would start getting to Goff. He'd be a bit rattled. The Lions would punt again, and on the 3rd drive, they would punt once more. 3 third-quarter drives for a total of -4 yards. I mean, on 3rd and 7, Goff would gift Jalen McCullough an interception, and he'd drop it. The Rams would also have 3 third-quarter drives, and the first one would end in a field goal. The second one would consist of Devontae Adams to continue to put the Lions secondary in a blender. I mean, they pretty much ran the same play back-to-back over the middle of the field for 21 yards and 15 yards. Afterwards, Stafford would put one up to the corner of the field to Colby Parkinson, and he'd come down with the catch for a 26-yard touchdown. So it seemed. Thomas Harper in coverage. The play would go to review, and after review, the call on the field would stand. Now, it does look like that he makes the catch and his knee is down, but the officials ruled that he lost control of the ball and then regained control of the ball in the end zone for a touchdown, which I guess makes sense because Harper does get his hand in there and jar the ball loose. But I swear I'm not being an unbiased Lions fan. I wonder if this was even a catch. I swear they should have more angles of this. But did the nose of the ball hit the turf under Parkinson's chest? You can't really see from these angles. And I don't know. Following the Rams' 3rd drive of the 3rd quarter, they'd get right down the field. The Lions' defense, probably exhausted, but no excuse, would give up another touchdown. And the Lions' 7-point lead at halftime would now be a 10-point deficit. The Rams would actually be forced to punt in the fourth quarter, but it was mainly because of a third down ball to Devontae Adams where he re-aggravated his hamstring injury. St. Brown would convert another 4th and 1 with just over 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, which would lead to a Jake Bates field goal to put the Lions down 7. But it just wouldn't matter. The Rams, 68 yards, 3 minutes and 5 seconds, would score another touchdown, putting the Lions back down 14. More specifically, Colby Parkinson's second touchdown of the game, which was definitely, no doubt, a touchdown. The Detroit Lions would then be down 14, 41-27, with just under 4 minutes to go. Goff would work them down the field. A big throw to Jameson Williams on the sideline. Nice comeback by him. Would put them in the red zone. But the red zone is where Detroit had been struggling offensively and defensively all game. Within the 20, the Rams really show you why they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. Some questionable no calls on Tesla and Williams on 2nd and 3rd and goal. Then 4th and goal, St. Brown definitely a flop. But Emmanuel Forbes does hold him, and he had just held Tesla on the play prior. 1st and goal, the Lions down 14 would score a touchdown. David Montgomery up the right side, and they'd cut the lead to 7 with 2.5 minutes to go. I love the David Montgomery Wildcat play the Lions used and Campbell calls. I wish they would have more 1st and goal Montgomery runs. He's great inside the red zone. The Lions would get the ball back with 11 seconds left, but can't ask for a miracle, and they lose 41-34. Tough loss, but you can't blame Detroit's offense. I mean, they laid it out on the field, and the defense, it just really shows you how much we're struggling. But it's to be expected. The Lions lead the league with players on IR again. No Arnold, no Branch, no Kirby Joseph. He might not even play again. And Campbell said it the best. The Lions had a look at the best team in the NFC North, maybe the best team in the NFL. I believe so. And it's not like they got blown out. I mean, they hung with the Rams and lost by just a few plays. And that's happened a few times to the Lions this season, and I think it's just that the margin for error is very slim for them this year because they've had one of the hardest, if not the hardest schedule in the NFL, and they play in one of the hardest divisions. The Lions finished their season with the Steelers, Vikings, and Bears. I still believe they will win out and make the playoffs. I just want them to make the playoffs. They missed it at 9-8 when they knocked the Packers out of it in 2022. They just got to make it, and I believe they can compete with any team and potentially go on a run. They just got to make the playoffs. And there still is potential that they could win the NFC North, but we'll see. We'll see. They got to take care of business against the Steelers this Sunday. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.